Welcome to the Construction Disruption Podcast, where we uncover the future of design, building, and remodeling.
I'm Todd Miller of Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building materials. Today, my co-host is Ethan Young. Mr. Young, how are you?
I'm doing good, Todd. It's a holiday weekend. Excited to be here with you and excited to wrap up this weekend well, or this week well, I should say.
That's true. I wonder if someday you'll be called Old Mr. Young. Do you think that'll happen?
No, forever young,
Forever Young. I like that. That's good. That's a good one. Okay, well, let's go into things. I do want to mention we are once again this episode doing our challenge words where both Ethan and myself and also our soon to be announced mystery guest, we each have a word that we have been challenged to work into the conversation as seamlessly as possible. You, the audience, can be listening for any unusual words we might use, and perhaps you'll figure out what our challenge words were. And at the end, we will tell you whether we were each successful at working in our word or not. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. So one thing that many construction companies struggle with is bridging that gap between their work in the field, which oftentimes they are really, really good at, but then also their financial tracking, their reports, and even their results. And unfortunately, of course, if they do have difficulties bridging that gap, they end up struggling to make ends meet. Today's guest is Timothy Wingate Jr. Timothy is the founder of G+F Business and Financial Consulting, based in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida. Timothy founded G+F in 2016 to provide specialized accounting and tax services specifically for construction companies. Timothy provides his clients with tools, advice, and financial advice so that they know better, or so that they can better understand their finances and they can improve their cash flow. With a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of South Florida, Timothy is also a member of the Construction Financial Management Association. Timothy, welcome to Construction Disruption. Pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I feel blessed to be here and just glad to be on the show. I can share what I have.
Well, that's what we're looking forward to. So you had your start in construction, working for many years with your father, who was a licensed general contractor. Kind of how I got started in this industry also. You then went on to work in banking, nonprofit management, and also real estate investing. I'm kind of curious, what is it about all of those experiences, because a lot of stuff there, that made you want to help constructions the way that you're able to today?
Growing up with my father, I start with him. He raised us in the field. So in bright, sunny Florida, sweating in the sun.
Oh, no.
Carrying a wheelbarrow and dumping dirt. So definitely had my fair share of working out there in the field and just really got a true understanding of what it means to work hard. And most construction owners or people who work in the construction industry, they are very, very hard workers. And I respected that, but I also found out that they didn't like working in the office. And so a lot of paperwork was spread out across my father's desk all the time, plans, bills, papers, all these different things. And just never saw office, organized. And I, at the time, I didn't know if he was getting things done in a timely fashion or not. But when I became of age, come to find out that he needed a lot of help in the office.
This sounds just like my dad, I got to tell you. Okay.
Yeah, so that was really where I just had my exposure to the construction industry. But then I had a love for just helping small business owners, because working with the nonprofit organization there, I was helping my grandmother run her organization. And so seeing the struggles that she had within the organization when it came to, not having proper accounting, not having any systems in place on how to manage employees or how to hire, how to recruit, do all these different things. And so to bring all of that and to gain that experience of how to do that, I seen that, hey, this is something that all small businesses need. And I said, I want to make sure that I can be a part of the solution. So starting G plus F was part of the solution of being able to come out here and help small business owners all together.
Very cool. So I also understand that the name G plus F was chosen very intentionally and has very special meaning. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, it means God plus family. Because when I left the nonprofit organization and started G plus F, well, I'll say, let me give you the in between that. So when I left the nonprofit organization, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I said, I know I want to help small business owners, but in what way can I help them? And I went back to the roots of what I was able to do for my grandmother's organization, which is bring financial structure to a company. And so I said, well, let me because I didn't go the traditional accounting route. I got my degree in finance. So I said, let me go ahead and understand this accounting at a higher level. And I went out and got my enrolled agent license. And so that gave me the tax knowledge that I needed to help people get out of tax problems and to help them get in a better tax position or understand what their tax position will be at the end of the year. And so G plus F was given to me as the name because it says when you go through what you're getting ready to go through, you're only going to be able to depend on God and your family. And so that's where G plus F came from, God plus family. And it has been carrying me through ever since.
Wow, that's very cool. And I understand that, faith, your life revolves around it. And so you reflect that in your business. And that just makes a lot of sense. And yeah, kind of what we try to do here at Isaiah Industries too. So I love that.
Absolutely. Love it too.
I'm kind of curious, in what areas do you find that many owners of construction businesses really don't understand their businesses? And, I think a lot of times we find that these are folks who, became really good at doing things out in the field and eventually got their own crew or a nicer truck or whatever they thought it was that made them start their own business. But, what are some of the things that you find they kind of struggle with once they make that jump into their own business?
Yeah, a lot of times they struggle with it's like three things. Number one, cash flow management. Number two, estimating. And then number three, managing the accounts payable process. So a lot of times cash is a constant worry. And to know that, money is coming in at the right time, at the right speed, um, it usually starts with what happens up front. So setting the tone with the client and the customer with your agreement, and also setting the tone with the subcontractors as well, to let them know. And everybody needs to be on the same page, know how they're going to get paid, when they're going to get paid. Like you got to have a lot of conversation around getting paid, and paying out in the very beginning and make sure that it's clear. And so a lot of them, they just don't do that. Some of these guys are still doing handshake deals. And that kind of can blow up in their face a little bit at the end because it's a friend. They don't want to offend them and, all these different things. Or they end up doing more work for them than they should have because they actually don't realize that they're actually paying workers to go do this work for a friend for free. But, you're basically financing that whole project or that part of the project. So teaching them how to, so they usually just have problems managing those three specific areas, cash management, estimating, and the accounts payable process can get out of hand quickly, especially when the same vendor is sending reminder invoices. So those reminder invoices can sometimes get double paid.
Right. Yep.
And that becomes a problem. Now you're trying to, get a credit, and now you're trying to, or you can't get a credit, so you're trying to sell off material to another job. So it just a lot of different things can happen with the accounts payable process if it's not managed properly. And then with the estimating, of course, estimating is there for historical data. So estimating gets better as you keep track of it and analyze it at the end of each job to see how well you did and how your margins pan out. And so just a lot of, construction owners or, project managers are just not used to managing that process in a very efficient manner where they can analyze it properly at the end of the job.
That's interesting. I can't say how many times over the years I've been working with a contractor who, already has the contract to do a metal roof, and he comes to us and is asking us to help him kind of detail things out. My question is, well, what does the contract say? What did you commit to doing here? And honestly, they don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm just like pretty shocked by that. Well, I mean, a contractor out there, a construction company, they have tons of options as far as CPAs and accountants and bookkeeper options and their sister-in-law and everything else. How is it that you feel you focusing just on construction companies can help them more than that CPA down the street or their sister-in-law who keeps books can?
Well, I'll tell you this, there's 3 areas of accounting that are very specialized. We've mentioned all of them on the show today. Construction accounting, manufacturing accounting, and nonprofit accounting. Very, very different because there's a lot of moving pieces. In construction, you're managing multiple jobs and keeping track of multiple jobs and tracking the profitability of multiple jobs. In manufacturing, you're keeping them together with the raw materials, finished materials, and then with the product, sales tax, all those different things. And then nonprofit, you have all these different grants and things that you need to satisfy with, reporting. You need to report just on their grant,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have one system to do that, right? So what makes it different or unique in the way that I approach accounting versus a traditional accounting is that I have specialized knowledge. So I understand, there's a ton of systems out there. Like there's, a bunch of project management softwares out there, JobTread, Procore, Buildertrend. I mean, the list goes on. But what we've done is we've picked one to master, and we know what project management system that we used is going to integrate well with your accounting system. Also, is going to integrate well with your accounts payable system, and then it's going to integrate well with your accounts receivable system. So, like all these things, we know how to set those up and make sure that the information flows through all systems properly, and so that information is reported properly to you to make higher level decisions about a job or the company at large. So that is what we do. We come to bring organization to your back office. We come to clear paper off of your desk, and make it organized.
Ethan will probably tell you that I could perhaps use your help.
Yeah, I was thinking about that a little bit, but I think it's usually sometimes it's better than normal, but I don't know.
Yeah. Now, I will say we don't do that in person. We're completely virtual accounting firm, but we have perfected, this process and how we onboard and how we do things. And it's a learning curve for most construction owners when they come with us, but they never go back to the paper scrambled on the desk.
Amen. Good stuff. Well, I was going to ask you, I mean, I assume you do have, since everything is virtual, you probably have clients all over the country, I assume.
I do. Yeah, we have some clients in Wisconsin, Colorado, North Carolina, just to name a few, Arizona. Yeah, so they are kind of all over. And it's really unique. So I definitely am able to share a unique, I guess, a unique perspective, to the construction industry, to any of my clients, because sometimes they're wondering, like, what are the other guys doing, and I can tell them what's working and what's not.
So what does that relationship look like? I mean, do you have weekly calls? They're sitting there in their office sipping on their coconut water and you're helping them out? Or what does that relationship typically look like?
No, they're not sipping coconut water and eating flapjacks and doing the other kind of thing of what they're trying to do. But they they're definitely what it looks like is we have to meet with a construction company every week or every 2 weeks. So they're meeting with someone from our team every week or every
Okay.
2 weeks. And it's usually to discuss everything accounts receivable and accounts payable, because those are the most
Okay.
fluid things that are moving in a construction company. And then they choose to meet with me either monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly at the least, to discuss all things strategic, strategy. Hey, I want to buy a house, a car, a building. I want to hire a new employee. I want to pay someone commission. I want to find a new estimator. How much is that going to cost me? Is it the right time? Does it make sense? So all those things. Hey, this last job, these things went wrong. And I helped them to strategically think about the job, because when you're in it, you think a different way. When someone's on the outside looking in, they bring a totally different perspective. And so that's what I do. I help them think about the jobs differently and what happened, because a lot of times what you see in the numbers is just didn't happen from a financial standpoint. Like it wasn't just an estimating problem or a accounts payable problem or whatever it is. It may be something operational. It may be saying that, hey, it took Tommy 10 hours longer to do this part of the project than Billy, who would have done it in 5 hours. And that's where you lost money, or that's where the margins have changed. So it just looking at those different things all the time.
I would guess most people, like new prospective clients, come to you like in a time of like struggle. It's probably not, it's kind of the opposite of a fair weather friend. They want you around when things are really going bad, not the other way around. Is that true?
Most time it is, because we're best suited for someone who's kind of bumped their head a little bit. We're not really suited for the startup construction company. Definitely, they may have found a way to reach their first million already, and now they're just on overload. Like it's getting out of control. Because the jobs are moving quickly. They have more people on the team, and they've found a way to make it that far. But now they need some help bringing some organization around the company to really streamline and grow at a better rate with a lot more peace.
I like that, like the piece. Well, I think one thing I have seen a lot of construction companies struggle with is how to set their profit margin. I mean, you kind of go into this and you think, well, as long as I sell anything above what I know my cost is going to be, I'm going to work, it's all going to work out. And that just isn't necessarily the case. So any advice for listeners out there who may be thinking about, well, how do I decide what my optimal profit margin should be?
Yeah, so this is going to sound maybe way left, but I'm a different accountant, from the so when you think about profit margin, you have to think about your operation profit margin as well. And then you also need to think about what type of company you want to be, because it really starts with the big picture, which is what type of company I want to be. Because I may want to make sure that all my employees get 10 days paid time off every year. The construction company down the street may not want that. They don't care if the guys get 1 day or 2 days. I may want to offer my guys a 401k. Company down the street may not think that way. So what I'm getting at is, if I'm construction company A who wants the 401k and want to give the guys PTO versus construction company B, then my margins on the job needs to support my operating margin, which will then support the growth of my company and allow me to provide those things to my employees. So I need to think about setting my prices based on where I want to go. And that is different. It sounds like, well, it may be like, Tim, well, how do we do that, and or where do we start and all those things? Well, I always say there's I forgot who the author was, but there's a book I think that's titled "Start with the End in Mind." And if you don't know where you're going, you would just go anywhere. And it definitely ties down to the Bible, where you should plan how you're going to build before you actually build it. It's the same thing with a company. So I have to think about where I want the company to end up. Do I eventually want to sell it one day? Do I want to pass it to my kids one day? Do I want to give it to the employees one day? Well, they don't want anything that's not profitable and they don't want anything that's going to cause a burden. And so you got to set it up in a way where anyone is excited to take it on and anyone is excited to work there as well. So profit margin is something that you really have to sit down and think about. And you think about that first, and then you go all the way back to your estimates. And then now you're not going to care if a customer disagrees with you with your price, because it needs to be that price for me to offer what I want to offer to my employees and to everybody who works here.
It just takes a lot of pressure off of everything when you know what that price has to be, and from a selling standpoint, it allows you to build your value around that, and so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
You alluded earlier to project management software, and you said that you have one that you like to see your clients on it. One of the things I see in construction, especially in recent years, every time you turn around, there's a new app, there's a new software platform for construction companies to use to track their numbers, report their numbers, help with communication, help with bidding jobs, help with planning, all that type of things. I know you mentioned project management software that you folks recommend, but in general, what advice do you have for construction companies in determining what tech is right for them? Not everything that glitters is gold necessarily. You got to know what to chase.
Yeah. So the first thing that you have to consider is there needs to be an implementer, within the company or who's hired from outside of the company, because tech is complex and there's a learning curve. There's going to be challenges, but what helps you get through it and see it to the end is the implementer being very strong. So when they're strong, they can kind of carry and motivate everybody and keep everybody, from pulling their hair out. So, and saying, why can't we just go back to Excel spreadsheets and paper and write down estimates? Like, you're going to constantly fight that. But the implementer is going to be able to hold you to the ground and make sure that we see it to the end. And so I will say this, there's a ton of project management software out there, like I mentioned before. And I would go as far to say that all of them work because they have customers. So it's all about identifying whether the implementer really understands what the software can do and if it's a good fit for your operation. And so because I understand one project management software very, very well, and I'm, an outside accounting firm, I'm really not going to work with a client who I can't serve with that software. So that's kind of where, and I have done that because there's been a client who puts down pipe in the ground, for utility companies and those type of things. Well, they need to be able to calculate dirt and gravel and and all these different things that all project management softwares won't be able to do. And so you need a very specialized project management software for that particular operation. And that's kind of where the implementer has to be an expert and say, you know what, that is a good fit for us, or this is not. And then, because you got to think about it, as long as you have trust in the implementer, that he understands it or she understands it very well. So it's going to work. It's just we're going to have to catch up. But they're going to hold our hand. They're going to make sure that we obtain the knowledge that we need to obtain, so that way we can move forward with this software. So if you as the owner are saying that you're going to be the implementer, well, then you need to go out and study these these different softwares like I did and take demo classes and take the certifications and test the software out, buy a subscription, test it out, do a test project, all those different things in order to know if it's going to work. You're not going to know it's going to work just by hearing about it. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and the people selling it are always quick to tell you, "Oh, it's going to do all that and more." Yeah. No, that's
Yep.
good advice. That's good advice. One of the things I can tell about you is that you really love this industry, and you love serving folks in serving folks in general, but in particular in the construction industry. I'm just kind of curious, is there anything specifically about the construction industry that you really love being a part of?
I love being a part of that aha moment because I get it with every new client. It's that moment where it's like, man, I'm no longer doing this that used to take me 15 hours a week to do, or 5 hours a week to do. And it's like, man, I'm so glad we made the change. I just like hearing that. Like, I'm just so glad we made the change. And that's always a blessing to me.
Good stuff. Well, I'm sure that you have your clients are greatly blessed by that as well. I'm kind of curious, are most of your clients fairly long-term relationships, or do you find that, you spend a year or so with them and kind of get them to the point of where they're comfortable going on their own, or what's that usually look like?
We're long-term,
That's what I figured.
we want to stay together. We want to grow together. And I still have clients who are still with me from 2016.
Very good. And that speaks volumes about you and what you're doing also.
Yeah,
So
I
good
appreciate
stuff.
it.
Well, what advice would you have? We know that a lot of our audience members are folks fairly new to this industry and, maybe even young in their careers. Any particular advice you'd have for younger folks starting out in this industry?
Really make sure that you have counted the cost of what it takes to survive, because most businesses fail because they didn't count the costs and they didn't know how much capital that they truly needed to start this company, because nothing's going to go perfectly. Things are going to crumble, go up, crumble again, go up, crumble again. It's like the stock market, but hope it's a good stock so it keeps going up. And so that's kind of how you got to think about your company. It's like you're constantly always preparing for the worst of times. And so in doing that, do that from the beginning. Always prepare for the worst of times and get help fast. Know that it's not a race and that you're not trying to build this company overnight. And then you're also not trying to eat like steak, from the first job. You're really trying to get yourself to a place where hopefully you at least want to have one or two people on the team to help get things done at the company, because putting that all on yourself, trying to work and do the office stuff, and get jobs, it's just a lot. You wear yourself out. So just knowing that, hey, get help where you're weak in really early. Don't try to eat a steak from your first, couple projects. Keep eating that ramen noodles, and and just stay the course and continue to study the industry, knowing what technology is out there, because technology needs to be a part of what you do, and you need to find a way how to implement that. And if you're not good at the finances from the very beginning, don't try to start it. Like, just go hire some bookkeeper who's certified, somebody who really understands bookkeeping at a basic level. You may not be job costing, but you at least have solid books. You know what I mean? Because you don't need to be, because when you're doing one or two projects, every couple of months or so like that, you don't really need job costing right at the start. You can get away with just standard bookkeeping and just knowing that you're just being profitable for the month.
Very interesting. Well, and I love that where you start out, you got to know the cost. And, I think, you were talking about financial costs, but I think a lot of folks too kind of underestimate just the emotional cost of starting a business and the amount of time and so forth. And, I've seen that really kind of surprise some folks also and put them in some pretty dark spots. So, yeah, find yourself a mentor. Find yourself somebody like Timothy to help guide you through that. I think that's all good stuff.
Excellent.
Well, this has been a great time together. Really enjoyed it. We're going to here shortly close up the business end of things and move on to a little bit of fun. But is there anything that we haven't covered yet today that you wanted to be sure to share with our audience?
No, I think, I'm always available. You can always just visit me either at construction.accountant or at gplusf.com and reach out to me. And if you're not a good fit for us from a month-to-month client, you may be a good fit for just a consulting piece. Just to have someone you can meet with every couple of months and talk things through and to make sure that you're heading down the right path.
So you do have relationships sometimes that look a little bit more like that also.
Yeah, just like with some startups, it doesn't make sense for them to hire a big accounting firm, but it does make sense to have someone they can consult with every now and then about some big decisions to make.
Okay, very good. That's a neat option. I don't often see that from consultants, so I love that you're willing to grow with them also, and that's cool.
Absolutely.
Well, before we do close out, I'm going to ask you, Timothy, if you're willing to participate in something we call our rapid fire questions. So these are 7 questions carefully curated.
Okay.
Maybe not so carefully. Some of these questions may be serious, some may be a little bit silly. All you have to do is give your quick response,
Okay.
and our audience understands you don't have a clue what we're about to ask. So you cool with this?
I'm cool.
Okay. Well, we will alternate asking. Ethan, you want to ask question number 1?
Yeah, I can start us off. Well, we know you're a busy guy working on the business and all that, but what's one of your favorite things to do to relax on the weekends?
Golf.
Gotcha, nice. I'm sure it's great down there with the good weather and I'm sure there's a lot of nice courses, yeah.
Perfect weather. It's getting a little hot right now, but we just came out of golf season, so
Yeah.
it was busy. It was busy down this way for sure.
Okay, question number 2. So last evening, I believe, or at least recently, I don't know, maybe we were watching on DVR, but here recently another season of Survivor wrapped up. I'm curious, what TV game or reality show would you most like to be on?
I forgot the name of it. It was like Expedition. It was a show called Expedition before.
Really?
Yeah, there was a show because they will, you'll have your own team and they'll drop you off in like this country, and you have to make this expedition to some different point. It may be in a different country too, like from one country to the next. You have to go through, mountains or waterfalls, and
Wow.
you have to, it was really, really unique. Yeah, but I think it was called Expedition.
I'm going to check that out. Thank you.
Alrighty. Next one. Do you have a favorite family tradition? And if so, what would that be?
Favorite family tradition is on Thanksgiving morning, all the cousins would get together and play basketball. And so we'll play half court basketball 4-on-4 and just play until we get tired.
And then golf in the afternoon, maybe?
Yeah.
Very cool. So next question. What is a product or service that you've maybe acquired recently that was a real game changer for you? Sort of a, where has this been all my life moment?
There was this software called Fireflies. And so Fireflies is this AI recording software. So every time we log into a Zoom meeting, it records everything and transcribes it. And so it's been a game changer because I don't have to repeat myself twice to an employee. So game changer.
I was on a Zoom call not too long ago and someone was using that. And I thought, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So like a digital note taker.
I'm like an old dog here. It's hard to teach me new tricks, but I may give that one a try.
Oh yes, good. Change your life.
All right, this is a fun question. If you were a professional wrestler, what would your entrance song be? Like your walkout song?
Probably be a Ty tribute song because he can really high. He's a gospel artist, but he's it probably maybe Victory. He got a song called Victory.
I have to look
Cool.
that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this next question is a little weird. Would you rather have hands for feet or feet for hands?
Yeah. It's definitely got to be hands for feet.
Yeah, I think
I can't imagine having feet for hands.
doing everything with your feet. Good answer.
All right. Last question. This is always an interesting one. What do you want to be remembered for at the end of your days?
At the end of my days, a God-fearing man who served everyone. Family, friends, everybody know that I was a giver. I gave more than what I received.
Yeah. I think that's
Love
really
that.
good. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, Timothy, you had thrown it in earlier, but please again, tell us how folks can get in contact with you or check out your website.
Yeah, so you can reach me at construction.accountant or g+f.com. And then on there, you just go in and there's a booking link and you can book time with me and I'll show up.
Very cool. And I'm trying to remember, is that G plus F the plus sign, or is that spelled out plus?
It's spelled out.
Okay, G plus F. Very good. G+F.com, and we will put that in the show notes as well. So, Timothy, thank you so much. This has been a great time, and happy to tell your story a little bit too.
Yeah, I'm excited. This was good time. Love being in on a call, especially with some brothers in the faith. So it's been excellent time. Way to cap off my Friday.
Amen. Good one. Well, we were all successful at our challenge words. Ethan, you had the word.
I had fair weather. Yep.
You worked it in there real well. You worked in there well.
Thanks.
Timothy, you had
flapjack.
You worked it in there well also. Plus, you get bonus points for using my word again, which was coconut water. So that was cool too. So good stuff. We had a little bit of food stuff going on there. Anyway, well, thank you again, Timothy. It's been a pleasure, and enjoyed spending some time getting to know you a little bit.
Thank you so much, Todd. And I appreciate you as well, Ethan, for taking the time to meet with me.
And I want to thank our audience for tuning into this very special episode of Construction Disruption with Timothy Wingate Jr. of G+F Business and Financial Consulting. Please watch for future episodes of our podcast. We're always blessed with great guests just like Timothy. Don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. Until the next time we're together, though, keep on disrupting things, keep on challenging things, keep on looking for better ways of doing things, and keep on making people smile, doing those acts of service to make life a little bit better for others. So God bless and take care. This is Isaiah Industries signing off until the next episode of Construction Disruption.
This podcast is produced by Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building products.